I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Ballara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you. Hi everyone, I'm Jason Ballara, and today I'm here with Yosef Lee. Yosef is a believer, a father, a lawyer, a multifamily apartment syndicator, an investor, a people connector, status quo hater, a strategic planner and action taker, and a Pilates studio owner. So obviously there's a lot there. Yosef, I'm so happy to have you on. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jason, for inviting me. Very excited to be here. Thank you.
Absolutely. So why don't we, what I'd love to do is actually just let you kind of tell us your story. I know there was a lot of titles there. You wear a lot of hats. So maybe just kind of tell us how you got started and you know, how all of that came into your life and your success.
Sure. Where do I start? I'm a South Korean immigrant. As you introduced, I'm a lawyer. Just like yourself, busy W-2 professional. Maybe you're not W-2. I'm still W-2 on the payroll, and I'm father of two girls. And I'm aspiring to take back the control of my time freedom by investing in multifamily apartments. So I was a month shy of 18 years old when I landed on the US, right? I came with a huge cultural excitement and also challenges, lifestyle, language, and meeting new people, making new friends. So ever since my life has been all about proving myself in a new country, about who I am, trying to find the identity as an immigrant, but also in a new country as an individual. So just I try to just be a better version of myself every day as much as possible. I have achieved some goals, but also made many mistakes, price paid for it, and just learned and then moved on. That's basically a summary of my life. And I went to law school to have a goal. I have a goal of becoming a lawyer, and I wanted to work for international like institutions like UN, etc. But I ended up going into the private sector and became a civil litigator. I do a lot of personal injury litigations, triple fault and triple fault type. And fast forward 2018, I was still hustling, working hours and hours, but nowhere close to financially free. I made some money, but we spent all of them as living expenses and paying bills in New York City, high expenses. So, but don't get me wrong, I still love what I do. I love my job and litigation, but each year I worked harder and harder, but the less time I'll have in the end to spend with my kids and friends and family, because by nature of my job it is to trade my time for money. So I thought about it. I had researched a bit, and that's when I stumbled upon the book, Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad and Poor Dad. And that book, I mean, I had the book for years. It was literally on the shelf. My uncle gave it to me a long time ago, but for maybe 5 or 6 years, I really didn't look at it, right? But this time, for some reason, I looked at it and then I read it cover to cover, and that just changed my mindset upside down. So that's when I concluded, okay, I need to create some sort of passive income. And so I started vetting a little bit of REITs and stocks and mutual funds, but then I landed on real estate and more so multifamily because the benefits that multifamily provide was no brainer not to take. Everything was so much making sense. So that was like 2019. I started self-educating myself by listening to the podcast, by going to biggerpockets.com, listening to YouTube videos and all that. So I was educating myself for a couple of months, but soon realized I was really not taking any action. I was just passively observing all the information by educating myself, but I kind of fell in the analysis paralysis for a couple of months. So that's when I decided to take some actions, and I ended up joining a mastermind group and coaching program. And that was early part of 2020, right before pandemic hit. And that was February. And then after I joined, I was ready to go out and meet people. And then pandemic came and it shut down everything. So throughout entire 2020, I could have just rationalize and justify my situation, saying, oh, because pandemic, I can't do this or that. But I didn't want to do that. So I started forming a virtual meetup group for multifamily investors. And starting from, I think, May of 2020, I wanted to create a playground for myself. So I started doing that with co-hosts. So we have bi-weekly virtual meetup, and started doing a lot of Zoom call networking. So every day, at least 2-3 people consistently. I tried. That was my goal. So I think I met about 200 people throughout 2020, just within multifamily only. So, and then I had a goal of closing my first deal in 2020, which happened in December 2020. So that was 44-unit apartment in Kansas, Lawrence, Kansas. And I met all my partners through mastermind group and coaching program. So basically was taking massive actions, ended up closing my first deal. And it kind of surpassed my goal, because my goal was to close first 10 plus units, and it became 44. So I was really happy. And thereafter, law of first deal worked, and I was in a couple of different deals as a GP. And that's basically in a nutshell my real estate journey.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. I think, we talked a little bit before we started recording too, that, we have a lot of parallels in terms of the high time commitment W-2 job, and I'm sure, civil litigation, that's, well, I don't know, maybe now with the pandemic, you discovered that can be done from home, but most, I'm sure previous to that, it was all, in the office, in the courtroom, that kind of thing, that you were
Yes.
away from home. So did you feel like, I know you talked about sort of getting into multifamily during 2020. Did you feel like that? I'm guessing that you sort of had time freed up when the pandemic struck at first, and so you obviously put it to good use. Is that the pandemic's been tragic, and it's hard to put a positive spin on it, but people have taken a negative situation and used it positively to, sort of advance their goals and things like that. So what you said, you started that bi-weekly meetup. What else were you doing to sort of get yourself just getting into that space?
First of all, yes, Chase, that's what happened to me. Well, I'm very sorry for those who had tragic experience through pandemic, and I feel that. But in my personal case, especially for business, my job and real estate journey, it got expedited because of the pandemic. Now everybody is taking Zoom call or virtual meetup more seriously, and I could freely talk about business and being a partner in a virtual setting as opposed to before. So I will definitely say I was able to use this negative situation in a more positive way. I started educating myself in a more how can I say, organized way. Before, I was just jumping around just by topic from topic, and studied it myself. But now, being in a mastermind or coaching group, they have contents, and then it's in an organized fashion. So I was able to go back from square zero and start studying it. And also started real estate meetup, right? Was just bi-weekly. Each time it's 20, 30, 40 people come, and we network and just we invite guests to talk about their experience. Yeah. And separate Zoom call networking, 2 to 3 people each day. That was also possible because of the Zoom call and pandemic situation. Everyone was a little bit freed up with their own time, myself as well. Yeah, and then consistently underwriting deals, consistently networking to find the partners. I underwrote about 30 or 40 deals before finding this 44 unit apartment. And we got it under contract and due diligence and all that. So we closed it. But also around the same time that we got that under contract, we had another deal under contract before that, about a month before. It ended up being closed later than this one in March of this year. So that one took about 9 months before we close it. So these are what I've been doing, just consistently networking, educating myself, and trying to take actions in a given situation.
Yeah. And that's actually an interesting, sort of topic that you just brought up. So you had, sort of both under contract. One of them took 9 months to close. And I think that maybe people outside the space don't realize just how many hurdles and roadblocks that can come up to actually either slow the process down, or, I guess you could potentially have something fall out of contract. But maybe talk a little bit about that. Talk about why it took 9 months. Kind of what hurdles did you come into, and what did you do to overcome them? So if you want to even start by just, if you can, you talk about the deal and kind of what the specifics about the deal, and then how that all played out for you.
Sure. So the 44 unit that we closed in December, we got that under contract in October. But in September, we got that second deal under contract. It's a 68 unit from Kansas as well, B class property. Nice, good cash flowing from day one. So we got that under contract, and the seller wanted us to assume the loan. It was an agency, I believe, was Fannie Mae loan. So we had to assume it. Otherwise, because of these hefty prepayment penalty, they had to raise the purchase price. So we decided to assume the loan. And since it's an agency loan, they're very specific about the occupancy. They have to see, at least for 3 months, last 3 months, they have to be over 90% occupied economically, which the property had that occupancy around the time that we got it on the contract. So there was no problem. We were just proceeding with due diligence. Everything was all right. Property was great. And then we were going to the finance phase. And that's when the occupancy kind of started dropping a little. And then it was going towards the 90%. And the lender was kind of freaking out, saying, "Oh, what's happening?" Right? So they wanted to delay the process a little, the closing process. And seller understood it, because we're not the one, it's the lender now being a little difficult. And again, another part was that since it was under contract, I believe the seller was not really taking a good care about the property, because it's going to be sold. And then I believe that's why the occupancy was started going down. The property management company was not really putting much effort, I believe. So we kind of delayed, and seller was okay to extend the closing. So bottom line is, we ended up delaying the process another additional, I think, 5 or 6 months, and by putting efforts to bring that occupancy, economic occupancy, back to over where it was before that happened, around the time when we got that under contract. So that's why it took a lot longer, about 8 or 9 months to close, because we had to show the lender that we are bringing the property back to what they wanted to.
Yeah. And it's I feel like these are the types of situations that don't get always talked about in the even in the masterminds or in the mentoring things, because it's very specific. Each thing is deal specific, right? So a lot of those coaching programs, they talk to us about the steps, right? This is how it goes, but it's hard for them to coach every little every little thing that could go wrong, and that that lending issue, that lending delay, due to the seller maybe not keeping up with the property as much as they should because of it's under contract, whatever the reason is, right? You don't really know why it happened. We are going through exactly that literally right now, so I totally
Oh yeah.
feel that feel that pain.
Oh my,
It's like,
man, that was brutal at the time. Like,
yeah, it's just, I mean, you just get, you kind of keep, okay, so here's one hurdle, let's think of solutions, we get around it. And so
mhm.
it sounds like you did, so that's encouraging to me, because I would love to still get this deal done.
Right, right. And also another part, another good part of the being coaching program was that, yes, there were no such thing when we were taking step-by-step education, but also at the same time, we have people that we could just go run and go and ask all the questions we had. So we our deal was helped a lot
Yeah.
from that. Yeah.
And that's probably that's a great point, in that may be the biggest benefit to the coaching programs and the mentorship groups, is that when you get in those situations, those more experienced people are going to be able to help you through it. So that's always a really good thing to have, kind of in the back pocket, that sort of connection. So yeah, it just goes to show you that the networking and all of those connections that we make in the space, it's really, really important. So so you were able to close on it eventually. It's performing well for you, I hope.
Yes, now it's cash flowing well, and our investors are happy. It's going to perform better than what we told them to do. It's going to happen. Because we wanted to under promise and over deliver.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, an important part of investor relations. What is your role with your group? Do you sort of focus on acquisitions or asset management? Do you have a role specific, or are you kind of all sharing it? How's that working for you and your structure?
We kind of share roles together, but my role in acquisition side is, since I had this legal training, even though I'm not a real estate attorney, all the legal things I can help to review before bringing to our attorney or my team. So for example, for the syndication, I reviewed PPM and operating agreements, and I simplified it for the rest of the team members to understand. And we had 4 different attorneys: seller's attorney, buyer's attorney, lender's attorney, and SEC attorney. And I was in the middle, being a communication channel with the team. Yeah. So that's how I was able to contribute to acquisition side. Capital raising is also what I learned and still continue to learn. And I raised some money. But not only that, asset management side, I contribute as more of talking to the lenders, actually moving the funds around, and in charge of distributing how much, and distributing to each account for the investors, etc. So we kind of do it together, but there are certain things that I'm in charge of.
Yeah, oh, that's cool. I think you're legal. I think although people come into real estate maybe from a varied backgrounds, and it sometimes might seem like, how is my previous life gonna contribute here? But I feel like every person I talk to for this podcast is like, this is how, no matter what it is, no matter what their background is, this is how it has helped me in the real estate space, right? So, because it's their life skills, and some of them apply directly. Like, there are obviously a lot of legal components to getting these contracts done, and as you mentioned, the PPM and everything. So having a lawyer as part of the team is a big deal. And then you're familiar with numbers and things. So I think it's just, it goes to show you that you can take that experience, that background, and find your place where you can add value in almost any situation, specifically in syndication, because there are so many different components or roles to the entire process. Well, yes. So we had those first 2 deals. Now I think you said you're over 400 doors now. So what has transpired since those first 2 deals went under? How have you kind of grown your business and things?
So around March, after closing the second deal, I got an offer from one of my mentors into a real estate holding company, and with him, I'm in charge of legal and investor relationship, and whatever he needs the help for, right? With him, and joined with another syndication group. So we, as a team together, we closed a couple more deals thereafter. We closed 64, 36, 72, and 130 and 151 in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Ohio. So it's been crazy journey, but yeah, I feel great. We had so much fun, and we have 2 more deals on the contract right now. So we're going full force.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great. You're really growing, and again, points to the relationship building and the networking, because it's, you obviously provide enough value that your mentor then wanted to kind of bring you on as a partner. So that's great. Progress. That's the kind of stuff that I think is good for people listening to this to hear, because you are going to have those times when it's hard and it's, you're feeling like, oh, I'm not getting it, whatever it is. But if you just stick with it and you don't give up on it, these are the kind of things, Yosef you're a perfect example of, like, these are the things that can happen as long as you just keep sort of following the path. So that's great. Well, let's sort of switch gears a little bit to the part of the show where I'll ask you a series of questions. And the first one is based on the name of the show, being Know Your Why. So Yosef, if you would, could you talk a little bit about what your why is? I know we talked a little before we started recording, but maybe you can go over that and expand a little.
Sure. Let's see, my whys. I have three different categories of whys. One is about myself. It's being better version of myself every day, 1% better every day. That's number one why. Second why is about family, to have more time and support, kind of creating kind of a financial fortress for my kids, so that they can focus on what they want to do and pass this financial fortress upon them, and then teach them how to maintain this financial fortress. And I want to do this. The vehicle is multifamily investing. And the third is about others. I want to make an impact and changes to other people's lives in a better way. And I want them to be better version of themselves, because at one point of their lives, they met me, and it has some influence to them. So these are the 3 whys I share throughout my journey.
Yeah, I love that. That's, we obviously talked about, family is a big deal to both of us, but I think really, I think having a multifaceted, sort of why is only going to drive you more, right? So you need to better yourself to be there for your family and your business. So that makes total sense. And then, at the end of the day, working to be able to give back in whatever capacity that is, if that's, teaching other people, if that's, financial donation, whatever it is, time, money, just being that person that impacts people positively, I think is fantastic. Tell us something about yourself that maybe isn't common knowledge. So something, special skill, a hobby, something that maybe not everybody knows about you.
My hobby, I love to watch movies. I love to go to karaoke. I love to sing it out, like, or rap. I love to rap some Korean raps. Really? Not English raps. Yeah, I listen to rap song a lot, and my wife's like, are you still teenager or something? That's literal translation of Korean is like, are you still kids or something? But I love the beat that makes me feel like alive. So it's good.
That's fantastic. That's fantastic. I was going to ask you what your go-to song was, but I can't say I know much in the way of Korean rap. I do enjoy rap myself, so that's very
oh yeah. Okay, nice. We should talk.
Yeah, exactly. Go to some rap Korean bar at some point. That would be
amazing. Oh yes.
All right. So what if people want to reach out to you, what's the best way to get a hold of you so that people can connect?
I am very active on social media, or at least I'll try to be. And I'm very approachable. You can reach me by LinkedIn, Facebook, or Insta by just typing Yosef your brosef, YOSEF, YOURBROSEF. And or you could go to my website, thebrosef.com, BROSEF, thebrosef.com.
I mean, that's hard to forget, so I like it. But
Right.
we'll put it in the show notes for sure. Final question for you, Yosef. What piece of advice would you give to someone who's a little bit, sort of behind where you are in their journey into real estate investing, and how could you help them, sort of achieve the success that you have in really quite a short time?
Yeah. Well, looking back, I think the best advice I got and the best advice I give out is falling in love with the process. Because a lot of times, if you just focus on the end goal, the process, a lot of times you're gonna want to quit. But if you just focus on the end goal, it's gonna be really, really hard. It's sometimes it's crazy that nothing's happening, but you gotta push yourself to keep going. But if you fall in love with the process, it will at least make the every bit of journey meaningful for you. And because it's a long-term game, I just told you how I closed like almost one property a month. Our team closed 2021, but people focus on that, but they don't focus on my first deal. The first deal happened even after I joined this great group coaching program, MIH Mastermind, Jake and Gino. It took 10 months to close that first deal, but people don't focus on that. They focus on how many deals they closed in 2021. During that 10 months, you know how I felt? I'm a very positive person. I'm very optimistic and positive, but even myself, I was questioning every bit of journey, like, because by looking people closing deals left and right, and I joined this great group when nothing's happening for me, right? And it felt like walking in a tunnel without a light, right? Okay, maybe tomorrow something's gonna happen. Maybe tomorrow I'll get a call from the broker. Maybe tomorrow, right? Every bit of journey, but at least I was able to enjoy that process because I had fun just talking to the people, doing the networkings, hosting the meetups, educating myself. At least I felt I'm becoming a better version of myself every day. So with that why, I was able to enjoy the process and being able to persistent.
Yeah, no, that's fantastic. And I'm not quite sure I've had that same piece of advice on here before. I think that's a really, really good point in that, well, several good points. I mean, you're exactly right. The first one, or maybe even the first couple are not going to come quickly, right? Nobody picks up, their rich dad, poor dad, and a month later owns an apartment complex. It just doesn't happen that way. But but when you see, the whole like social media is wonderful to an extent, but then there's also some people, it creates in your head, you create unrealistic expectations for yourself. Like you said, you're in that mastermind group, you're seeing people close deals around you, like, why not me? Why not me? So you really do have to kind of realize that you have to know it's a long-term game, and long-term means years, not even like a couple months. Like it means a long time, but your velocity will pick up as you go along. So if you close one deal in the first year, two in the second, well, now then it's going to go 5, 10, it's just going to go really quickly at that point. So it's kind of a really good thing for people who are, especially if they're getting started in this business, to know, you have to kind of love what you're doing all along the way, right? You can't just love closing the deal, because closing the deal is hard, and it's also not where the work stops, right? You still have to manage the asset and put your business plan into action. So there is a lot to it for sure. So I think that's actually fantastic advice. Well, Yosef, this has been awesome. Thank you so much for, kind of sharing your journey. And I think you really provided a lot of good insight and advice to people, especially for those that want to get started and get up against those roadblocks, that you can get over them. It's just, you just don't give up.
Yeah. And if you are stuck somewhere, just let me know, just ping me or DM me or whatever. Because I've been there and I've done that. I'm like, I started from like literally zero. Before this 43 unit, I didn't even have any single. I never invested in a single or duplex at all. I was like literally true beginner. But there's a way to get expedite and your journey through education, networking, and proper action taking, right? And I'm more than open to share all the experience I had.
Yeah, that's fantastic, and I think people should really sort of utilize that offer to just reach out to people that are. I think it's almost better to reach out to someone who's not 10 years ahead of you, right? Because they might forget what it was in the first year or two. They've gone so far. It's actually good to speak to people like yourself that might be a year or two ahead of someone, that and really, see what you ran up against during that time.
Right. And that's one of the reasons why I document myself as much as possible, so that I could look back and come back to where I started and be humbled again, because I don't want to like later on become like, oh, as if I started with a lot of units already. Right.
Yeah.
So
makes total sense. Awesome. Well, again, thank you so much, Yosef. I really do appreciate your time. And that was a great, really a lot of great advice there. So thank you for coming on.
Thank you, Jason, for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Absolutely. All right, everyone, have a great day. I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Ballara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you.